All right, on today's show, I welcome on a very special guest. He is the head coach of Moses Brown's boys high school basketball team. He is Coach Joshua Cabrera. Coach, how are you today?
Good. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm doing well. So, how are you doing during these COVID times, Coach?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I can't complain. I'm also a teacher, so it's been very different during these COVID times. A lot of planning ahead, a lot of just things you got to be aware of, and um, I can't, like I said, I can't complain. And I've gotten very used to like COVID, like all the things that we have to think about, all the like wearing a mask, social distance and stuff like that. I guess I've gotten better with it. I don't like it, but definitely gotten better with it.
That's good. Yeah, it's always tough. I think my biggest issue with the mask that I've been finding out is that I keep forgetting like to put it on sometimes, or forget a mask with me if I go out somewhere, or like
Yeah.
kind of scramble because I put extra ones in my car and I'm like scrambling to find the extra ones when I go somewhere.
Right, right. And something happened to me the other day where I was like, because I don't keep extra ones in my car.
Yeah.
And the other day I had one, and then it like fell on the other side of my seat, and I couldn't find it. And I was like, geez, I got to do a bunch of like I just left Moses Brown, and I had to run and do a couple other things, and I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. I was like, this is why I should keep extra ones in my car.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. I went out to go somewhere and I'm like, I'm sick of this. So I just like bought a bunch of baskets, threw them in my car. But coach, I want to know, I want to start off before we get into the how you got into Moses Brown. How did you get into basketball the start?
Oh, my basketball experience is very different than probably like the most common one. I grew up playing baseball, and that was pretty much it. But I found it very boring. The team I was on was pretty good, so like when we would play other teams, I would just find it boring. So they just like used to rotate us around the field, and I hated playing the outfield because nobody would hit that far when I was younger. So, and then I grew up on Niagara Street, so between Sackett and Warrington, and as a lot of people know in Providence, Sackett Street Rec was one of the newer ones at that time. So I was in elementary school over there, like Lillian Feinstein Sackett Street School, and they built like this attachment to it, and they started this whole like rec center after school thing, and that's kind of where I discovered basketball. So I think I really got into it with Coach Chris Love, who was actually the head coach at Times Two before, and me and Debo, so Dwayne Monroe, grew up together. We all grew up in that same area, so it was pretty cool to like actually play against Dwayne. And shout out Debo, man! Congratulations on a well-deserved win championship. But yeah, Chris Love, I think it was like going into seventh grade or eighth grade, and I like fell in love with it. I fell in love with his passion with the game, and I was playing every day, waking up super early on Saturday mornings. This guy we used to call Coach used to open it up at like, I don't know, 7 a.m. for us, bring breakfast for us, and we would just eat breakfast and go shoot hoops for hours and hours and hours. And I don't know, I just fell in love with that process, and yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's such a small world too that you grew up with Coach Debo and Coach Love, and like you
Yeah.
said, congratulations, Coach Debo. But that's crazy. That you guys grew up together, and now you guys are coaching against each other.
Yeah, I mean, the basketball world is so small, and it gets even smaller when you're talking about Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy. And I'm learning that as we keep doing more of these podcasts, I'm learning that people know each other, are connected in some way, or someone will bring up someone's name like Coach Love. I know Coach Love as well too. And I'm like, oh, I actually like worked with him at Krantz at the YMCA. So it was just funny how
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
connected like that.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of us who've even played against each other and now like coaching against each other.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool. And now you played at Classical, and you guys actually won the Division II championship. What was it like to win that championship and playing at Classical?
So we were actually in Division I when I first went to Classical.
Mhm.
I was one of the only freshmen playing varsity. I think I was swinging my first year, and then sophomore year I was playing strictly varsity. But we had some tough years. Those first 2 years were kind of tough. We were on the downside, and we got moved down to Division II, and we didn't want to because we knew in our junior/senior year we were going to have a good team. And I believe, I think Ashton Watkins just transferred in when I was a junior, and he had to sit out half the year. But we went undefeated my junior year, and in Division II, and then lost to, we played Tolman twice, and they had Avery King at the time.
Yeah.
And we did a good job on them at Tolman and then at our house. But yo, this kid killed us. He killed us in the playoffs. Like, this kid was ready, determined, and just, oh my God, I don't even remember how much he had, but I just remember, like, yeah, nobody could stop him in the open court. And it was at CCRI. So that court's just huge, and it was tough. It was tough. But I think that's what made me feel like determined for the next year to win it, right? We went undefeated and won the state championship, which was cool. And that year we actually had a pretty good Division II lineup. Like, we had West Warwick, who was really good. They had Ryan Colburn. I think Lazat had a crazy game against Feinstein in the semifinals against Jarrell. I don't know if you remember those guys, but like, Feinstein was really good too. Yeah. We were really good. Rogers was really good. They had Mason Choice, Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the other pretty good teams, but like, I remember us being the top 4 teams, and I wish we would have had an open tournament the way they did. I think it was like a couple years later they started that open tournament. I was like, Jesus, like, I wish I would have had a crack at like all the best teams. We really wanted to play Hendrick in that year, but I don't think scheduling wise it allowed us to do it.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I wish the open tournament was around too. I think like you mentioned, I think after I graduated too, it just kind of, I'd never heard of it. And then someone said, yeah, they do like an open tournament. I'm like, what? That's crazy. That's so cool.
The best thing though was, like, after we won that year, the following year we won it again at Classical, and I wasn't there. It was with like Ashton Watkins, Mike Palumbo, and Levon Waite. So those were their 3 guys, and maybe a couple other guys. But like, Mike Palumbo he was like averaging like 40 points in Division II, and yeah, it was crazy. He was having a crazy year that year, and I think he was only a junior at the time too.
Wow.
Might have scored 1,000 points that year too. I don't know, it was something insane. He was having a crazy year. And then like and it's cool to like see how Classical's kind of become one of the top teams every single year in Division I. You know, like, we've had guys like David Duco, Keelan Ives, the kid Stanley now is really good. And it's like good to see like that continue. Coach Cav, my senior year, was an assistant coach at the time because Coach Todd Keefe was there, and then he ended up going to Central, and Cav took over, and I kind of just stayed around Classical just because that was my alma mater, and me and Cav got really close. I call him Pops because he's like my second dad, you know, and he's been great, and he's been good to a lot of these kids too. So the legacy he's developing out there is awesome, and I'm super like happy, proud of everything he's accomplished over there.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, Classical, like you mentioned, there's some great players. You had like you said, David Duke. You had Stanley over there. That Stanley's coming out of there now, and I'm sure of like Marquise and some other guys that are like that are playing now currently are gonna, are kind of legends as well, or starting to become one of those great players as well too. But Coach, I want to know too, what was your decision to go to Norwich University in Vermont?
Yeah, so at the time I was playing AAU for the Rhode Island Hawks, which was one of like the best teams in probably New England. And I was playing for their B team, and our B team, believe it or not, we actually sent, I want to say like 100% of the players on the B team and played college basketball. So we were really good. Our A team were more like high major, like Mike Merrill was on the team, Laurent Rivard, who was from Canada, but he was on that team. We had Kyle Casey on that team. So that team was really, really good. And but we on the B team, we had guys like Kevin Donahue. I think he was the highest recruited. He went to Division II. But we had Mike Akinrola, we had myself, Ryan Colburn, we had Colin Burns. So we were a really, really, really good B team, like, and people knew it, so it was cool to travel that way because we were able to get attraction from college coaches, a lot of Division II and Division III, and then Norwich hit me up, but they were like the most consistent with my recruitment. They showed me the most love. They would come to a lot of the AAU tournaments that I was at, and they even came to my championship game, which was pretty cool at URI, and the guy who was recruiting me was an assistant coach at Norwich, but Coach Booth, who is the head coach, came down with him too for this championship game. But Coach Rock was the main guy who like kept in touch with me and just always showed me love. And when I visited, it just felt like it was right. I wish I would have visited more schools because I was so naive and I just wanted to get to school, like to college and stuff, because I was like, this is the only opportunity I got, so I gotta go. So,
Yeah.
but like schools like Hamilton, a lot of the NESCAC schools were recruiting me too, but I didn't know better, right?
Yeah.
That's a difference between like going to a public school and a private school. Like they let you know that, or maybe they've gotten better with this, but at private schools, you have college counselors. You don't have guidance counselors. Guidance counselors deal with a big number of students. So they can't really help you directly unless you're coming to them.
Yeah.
College counselors really, really help you understand like where you belong, like academically. And I probably would have went to a NESCAC school if that was the case, because I really wanted to go to Hamilton, but to make that visit, it was a long drive up to New York. So I couldn't afford that. And so I decided to just go to Norwich, and I got a really, really good financial aid package. So it was the right decision.
That's awesome. I mean, it's great. And you played at Norwich. You were captain for 3 years. Where at Norwich, what's the experience from Norwich? Is there a favorite game that you still remember today that really sticks out to you as well too?
I don't. It's crazy because I don't think I had a favorite game, but I remember certain games. Like when we beat Johnson and Wales, they came up to our house and we beat them in overtime.
Yeah.
Like I remember that game, and it was just because I played with a lot of those guys, like Calvin Jones, Lamont Thomas.
Yeah.
Who else was on that? I don't remember. Lewis, one of my best friends, Luis Ferreras.
Yeah.
The top now. Me and him grew up together and really, really good friends.
Yeah, actually, I know Lewis from CCRI. We're actually good friends.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Lewis are really good friends. I'm actually his son's godfather.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's that small basketball world again, right? Yeah. That's awesome. That like you got to play against those guys that you grew up with and played with as well too, and you got to face them and beat them. Get Johnson Wales. Now you also played pro ball in the DR. What was your time like playing down there and playing professional basketball overall?
Yeah. So when I went to the DR, it was more like I was playing with this team professionally, but it was more like a tryout. So I played probably for a month or two, and they were ready to like give me my official contract. But then the Gunnery called me saying that they wanted me to. Well, they were offering me the head coaching job over there and also teaching. So then I was really thinking like, do I want to try to actually become a pro and make some money, or do I really want to focus on my future? And there was a lot of things going on with my knee. I didn't like the inconsistency of playing pro in the Dominican because they really show love to those guys who deserve that money more than I do. Like you have these guys from America who are coming and getting paid a lot of money because they're like 6'5", I'm only 5'10", I was able to score, but it's completely different, So I was like, could I really keep this up for as long as I can, or can I like move into the coaching world and still be a part of basketball and really like solidify myself in this profession? I think I've been doing a pretty good job with it since then. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would say so. And now, like when you got to Gunnery, what was your time like there, and how did you end up at the Vermont Academy? What was the transition like?
Yeah, so at the Gunnery, big hockey school, right? So I had to learn a lot on how to like recruit kids, and also gain the trust from the school to be able to bring in these kids. I was there for 3 years, and I learned how to bring a lot of the kids that I wanted to. But by then, I was kind of like tapped out of like the amount of work I had to do, and I wasn't getting rewarded for it. And I mean, just bringing kids in. So that final year, I think they try to use a tactic of like keeping me there. So they brought in like 5 or 6 of my recruits that year, and I already had made that decision that I was going to leave and coach at Vermont Academy. I was at, so I got to, I've known Coach Pope for a while, but I got to talk to him a little closer when we were both at the Yale. They have like an elite camp.
Yeah.
Every summer they have a couple sessions of those. So I like going to those because I know those kids have the grades, and I know those kids can play, right? Sometimes Yale contacts them and like tries to like bring the kids that they are actually recruiting, but they also bring in kids that who have aspirations to play Division I, but maybe don't have that look yet. So they go to those. So it's a really cool place to go, and I recommend anybody who coaches in prep school to go to those elite camps, because it's a good way to get in contact with families from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. And at a boarding school, you're able to bring in those kids.
Yeah.
But me and Pope talked for a little bit, and I just expressed my frustrations at the Gunnery, and he was like, dude, just let's go, come to Vermont with me. And I was like, really? And I looked into it, and I was like, because they just had a big time championship with Bruce Brown and what's his name? He's a big guy from Xavier. So they won a championship with them, had a couple guys returning that played BABC, like Marcus Santos Silva, Bailey Patella. What's his name? He's at Jacksonville now as a senior. Corey Romich. And then they were bringing in Jordan Wara, Simi Shatu. Who else were they bringing? They already had Christian David, who went to Butler. So it was like such a cool. I was like, this is exactly what I want. Like I want to be able to talk to these coaches and also coach these kids at another level, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to break it down so much. I can just be like, do this, this, and this, and they know, you know, and like they're in the gym. I don't have to like drag kids to go to the gym. It's just like a different environment. And it is Vermont, and it wasn't perfect and ideal, but it kept us focused, you know, on what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. And how was it like coaching those D1 players and like being like, you know, having those kids as like you're coaching them? What was that like?
So it's funny because they're still like the same as any other player. Like the only difference is like they're more dedicated. Obviously, they're more skilled, but like you're breaking down the same stuff. Like we were working on footwork stuff. We were working on passing. We were working on shooting mechanics and stuff like that. Because I honestly love coaching in the high school because the growth is exponential, right? Like the growth becomes here. Now when you're in college, like it's this much, right? So if you get a kid who's a sophomore, freshman, like this is how much they know, but you can get them to know this much as a senior by their senior year. When they're in college, they probably already know this much, and they're probably going to gain maybe only this much. And I think that more with that division, because AA, these kids have been coached for AAU. A lot of the kids play in the EYBO, so they have many good coaches. But it can be different when you're talking about a regular public school high school kid. We would sit down, break down film. We would do scouts. We would do all that stuff. So we prepared these guys to be ready for college, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. They were able to do that and, you know, make that move. And then what's the move to come to Moses Brown and take over that coaching job there and, you know, end up working at Moses Brown as well?
Yeah. So I was actually supposed to start at the Kent school after my first year at Vermont Academy. I got the head coaching job at the Kent school. And last minute, I decided to stay home because I had some family issues going on. And I decided to stay home, help them financially and stuff. So I had to find like a last minute job, and I found one of my friends worked at this loan office, and I became a loan processor for 9 months. It was actually a pretty good experience. I learned a lot. But I'm a person who likes to work in the classroom. I like being active, and sitting behind like 4 screens literally is not my thing, you know?
Yeah.
I could do that for maybe a couple hours, and then it got pretty boring after 9 months. So I reached out to one of my friends who works at Moses Brown, and luckily there was a position that was open, and I applied for it. It was last minute kind of, and it happened, and I was able to coach. I mean, not to coach, to teach at Moses Brown and those were my intentions at first, because I know, what's his name? Jason Bluen, I think, was the head coach when I first went there. So I was helping out the girls team for a year, and then Jay decided to move on, and I became the head coach.
Nice.
And during my second year. So this is only my second year as the head coach over there.
Wow, that's crazy. That's and you guys had a great season, crazy season as well too. When you take over the head coaching position, like what's your coaching philosophy, and like how do you bring start to bring your culture to the program?
Yeah. At Moses Brown, it was hard to implement and it still is, my philosophy, because I still think there's a lot of things we need to work on as a school, as players, our mentality, or at least, and I don't want to Moses Brown. I mean, if you talk about Moses Brown with basketball, it's like, you're not like, oh my God, there's so many good basketball players over there, right? We have a lot of good athletes, a lot of good kids, but a lot of them don't spend a lot of time playing basketball, and that's just a fact. I want to be able to bring in kids that play more basketball year round, and really can help make this program better. Like, I want to be able to compete against the Classicals, against the Hendrickens, against the LaSalles. But I know that's going to take time. But one of my philosophies is just to coach these kids to just be better humans.
Yeah.
No matter what the situation is. Be tough, but also show them love, be understanding, and coach them individually as different players, right? Because not all players are the same. And a lot of coaches just coach a system. I'm not one of those people. Like, I can't coach a system if the players I have can't run the system,
Yeah.
So I have to figure out where kids lie in whatever I want to do, or where they're going to be successful in certain positions or whatever. But the ultimate goal is to get these kids to college, and it might not even be to play basketball, but just to help them get to college. A lot of these kids already go to college, but help them with that decision. Help them get on track if they're falling off of it. I just try to look out to these guys, for these guys, as much as possible. And Coach Jay and Coach Shaw help out a lot with these guys in their development.
That's awesome. That's great. And it's great. It sounds like you're very, passionate, and you guys had a great year this year. It's just didn't, tough game in the playoffs, obviously. But, what was it like, first of all, to coach in this pandemic and coaching with a mask? Like, how do you make the adjustments? What's your whole mindset coming into the season anyway? Thinking you might not have a season, you might have a season.
Right. I was able to coach some AAU before with the mask, so that helped.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing about this season was just the amount of emails that we were getting, and all right, so you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to remember to do this, and then last minute, you got to do this too, right? So my brain was just oh, okay, is everybody socially distant? So we got more comfortable with it, but it was just a lot, it was a lot. And I was also freaking out a little bit, because I'm a teacher, and also a coach, and we just came back from break. Mind you, it's winter break, and then we were supposed to start on that first day.
Yeah.
This was something that I was a little nervous about, but I ended up having to quarantine after a week of tryouts and practices.
Wow.
And then first game against West Warwick, I wasn't there. I had to watch just like this through a camera. And then we played West Warwick and we played Situate. And those are two teams I know we could have beaten. But although my assistant coaches did a great job, but it's different, these guys respond differently to a head coach than they do an assistant coach. And the assistant coach sees things different than a head coach, So I wish I would have had a shot at those two teams, because West Warwick, I think, if I remember right, we had 3 good quarters, but then one quarter they kind of pulled away and beat us by 11. Situate, they beat us at the buzzer off the backboard.
Yeah.
So we had chances to beat those teams, and but no, going back to your question, a lot of things to keep in mind, but it was good. We made the adjustments, and I don't know if you remember, but we also had a quarantine right before playoffs. Somebody during the game had a positive COVID test, and we had a quarantine for, I think it was 8 days.
Yeah.
But luckily we were able to cancel. Like we were supposed to play Davies and Central Falls, but we had to cancel those games, which we actually wanted a shot at Davies, and we wanted to play Central Falls too, just to get a feel of like what it would feel like to play against one of the better teams in our conference. But we were able to rest. A lot of our guys were kind of banged up. We play a lot of guys, but we play hard, especially defensively. And some of our guys were banged up, so we took that time to rest. We did 2 days with Nick Correa, who's doing a lot of like sports training with guys, NBA guys, and we just zoomed in, and a lot of the guys just did whatever he was saying to do. It was really cool to do that as well. But luckily, because I would have been super mad if we would have lost to Mount St. Charles in the first round, because we only had 2 days to practice. But luckily, Mount St. Charles agreed to give us that extra day, because we were supposed to play on that Saturday, but they gave us that Sunday to just give us an extra day to prepare.
No, nice. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's right. Because I did remember talking to Henry. I was like, well, you guys are playing Saturday. It's like he mentioned about you guys with COVID and stuff, and gave you guys talked about the extra day. That's great. I mean, you guys were able to win in the first round, and then the second round you had a really tough game against Times 2, who's actually now the champion. But what was it like to coach in that game against, your friend Coach Debo as well too? What's it like to coach against him? And in that game, I know it didn't go the way you wanted to, but it was a battle. You guys gave the number 2 seed team a real hard time.
Yeah. No, it was all love, man. It was a lot of fun. I even talked a little smack to him before the game. I was like, make sure this game isn't close at the end, because I'm gonna outcoach you.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say he outcoached me, but he definitely obviously got the win,
Yeah.
But no, we were beating them with like a minute and a half left, and we had a couple bad possessions, and we had on defense a couple breakdowns, and the kid Josh had one strong take to the basket to put him ahead, and we were behind, and we even had a chance to win it at the end. I mean, not to win it, but to tie it at the end, and missed the shot. And once again, the kid Josh, huge upside too, of a player, blocked the 3 that Andrew Perry took to try to tie it.
Yeah.
So we had chances to win it. We probably had 25, maybe 30 turnovers, and still had a chance to win it. We forced probably 25 to 30 turnovers. I think if you ask any coach that played against us, we were probably the hardest team to play against offensively, because we were so tough defensively. These guys they worked so hard, and they understood like what they needed to do to win games, and they came together at the end of the season, and we had a shot to beat the team who actually won it.
Yeah.
It would be cool to get. I really think if we would have gotten past times 2, we would have won it.
Yeah.
I really do believe that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like that would have been like a heck of a win. And then going against West Warwick and making it to BVP, that would have been awesome. It would have been cool to really see. But unfortunate. But next year, there's always next year, right? I guess that's what everyone says. But
no, I wanted a shot at West Warwick. The guys wanted a shot at West Warwick again.
Yeah.
And then BVP already made it to the championship, and we beat BVP. And every time I tell people that, they were like, "Oh, but Xavier wasn't there." I was like, "No, he was there."
Yeah.
He was there, and we beat them. And after that game, I remember the coaches were just like standing around their coaches, the BVP coaches, and they were kind of like shook up, because they weren't expecting us to go into their gym and beat them. Mind you, they almost didn't make the playoffs because of that.
Yeah.
They had to beat times 2 at times 2 senior night to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they like, good job to what's his name, Kevin?
I think so. Yeah, Coach Kevin. Yeah.
And good job to him for taking his team, and like a lot of credit to the stuff that he did with BVP. Xavier and Jordan were like really led that team. But yeah, we were able to beat them. Every time I say it to people, they're like, Xavier wasn't there though, right? I was like, No, he was there. We
Yeah.
just did a really good job defensively.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, Xavier's and shout out to Xavier. He's a great player too as well. But yeah, he's
1,000, it's crazy.
yeah, yeah. And now, Coach, you also coach for BCRI. What's your time been like with BCRI and coaching with them, and how'd you get involved with them?
We'll start with the how did I get involved with them. I've known Coach Pat for a couple of years. I remember growing up, he was only a couple of years older than me. He was a really good player from Exeter. When he was in high school, they had a really good team. I don't remember exactly who played on that team, but I remember them being very good. And then when I started getting older, it was Pat Sturtle, David Storty, and Ben Kranka. This is before Ben left, and they were so good. Right, they were playing Division I. They were just killing it. I think Ben ended up leaving after his junior year. I think he went to Worcester Academy, but they still had Dave Storty and Pat Sturtle. So I knew Exeter, West Greenwich just from those guys, right? Because we played together as well. And then a couple years later, I think I was still at Norwich, or I just had graduated. And I remember Pat being helping out Jay Wu, Johnson and Wales, with coaching over there, and we got closer there because I was at the Gunnery, and there was a couple kids that they were looking at that they possibly wanted at Johnson and Wales. And then I honestly, I was never a big fan of AAU. I think it's very watered down these days because there's so many teams. But to be able to emulate something that I was a part of before with the Rhode Island Hawks was something that Pat really sold me on, because once again, with my philosophy, I really think that it's like basketball can take kids a very far way in life. And to be able to teach these kids to use that little orange ball in the right way is, I think, super important, super special. And it could be a very cool story for a lot of kids. And that's something that we're trying to do with, obviously we want to be super competitive, send kids to Division I, and we want the best of Rhode Island players to come play for us. But ultimately we want those stories. And that, I think that's what's more special than anything, is those kids coming back and sharing those stories and being like, yo, this program helped me get to the next level. And it doesn't even have to be like the NBA as a next level, but like the next level to be able to buy my mom a house, right? The next level to be able to, I don't know, achieve whatever they want to achieve, get a good job. Because we know getting a good job, sometimes the fact that you played in college, they understand that you know how to play on a team, right? And a lot of jobs like that. So that little orange ball can change your life. And I think BCRI is a good way to help those kids do that.
That's great. That's awesome. Oh, Coach, I would have to say that Moses Brown and BCRI both look at have you. You can just tell how passionate you are about the game. We talk about coaching. It's so cool as we have these conversations. But last question, I want to, ask everyone this question, because we always talk about basketball. We got to know, what's your favorite thing to do outside of basketball?
Because I'm so involved in basketball, I have to find some time for myself.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is I honestly just go to the gym or just watch college hoops or the NBA. I know it sounds kind of silly, but for me, it's like my mental state, like I'm at school for hours and hours and hours. I'm teaching, coaching, or whatever. But like when I'm in the gym, I forget about everything or anyone. I just like focus on myself, and it keeps me sane, it keeps me sane, and just being able to just like watch hoops on TV, pick up plays from some of the greatest is so much fun to me. And yeah, I would say those are my two pastimes. It's just more hoops on TV and then just hitting the weights.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that at all. Do you have a favorite team for college or high school? I mean, college or NBA?
Yeah. For the NBA, I'm always a Celtics fan.
Okay.
I've always been a Celtics fan, a huge Paul Pierce fan. One of my favorite players, though, was, and people laugh at me when I say this, but was Tayshaun Prince.
Really?
when he
Because
was with, yeah, with the Pistons.
defensively?
Oh no, everything. Like if you go back and look up Tayshaun Prince's stats and what he's done, he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good. And the reason why I liked him was because he was able to influence the game in so many different ways. Right? Like you had really good scorers, you had really good defenders, but he did both. He
Yeah.
did both. He was super skinny, probably still is, but he can shoot it, he can score, but he'll also lock you up. And I love that about him, about his game.
He was so long. I remember, like, he was just like a long, like like
Because he was like 6'7", 6'6", 6'8", something like that. But he was just skinny, so his arms are just like forever. You know?
Yeah. That's what it was like. Go gadget arms or something like. It's like, and then that block against Reggie Miller in the conference finals was like, all time. Like I think that's like underrated in all time.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But who am I to say that, right?
Yeah.
But for college, I've always been a huge Rick Pitino fan. Even more when Mike Mara went, just because it was cool to like see a Rhode Islander go. But like Peyton Siva, I used to love watching him.
Yeah.
Russ Smith, Montrezl Harrell. So that championship team was really cool to watch and see. So a big Louisville fan. Chris Mack is there now. And I love the stuff that he's doing. We were able to send Jordan Wara up there as well. So like at some point, if I think that would be the only school that can reach out to me and be like, yo, if you want to come coach at Louisville, we want you to come now. And I would say yes. But that's the only school. That's the only school. Funny story too. So when I was at Vermont Academy, we had a lot of coaches would come in at like 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning to watch some of our open gyms. And I remember I had to get in contact with Rick Pitino because he was flying in and I had to go pick him up from the airport. So I was like, oh, let's go. This is like my idol. Like, and it was like such a surreal moment where Rick Pitino got off the plane. Mind you, it was like a private jet. And I pick him up from the airport and him and one of his assistants get in my car and he's sitting in my front seat.
That's so crazy. That's gotta be so. Did you guys talk at all? Was he a nice guy or?
Oh, he's so dope. He was so appreciative of the fact that I picked him up at like that time in the morning and because I had to take him back the next day and so cool person, such a cool person. And I remember when it was like one of the first times like they were getting into it, but they had like this phone that they can put as goggles on your face and they put it on Jordan and he was able to like walk around and like they would change the like feature or whatever and it looked like he was in the actual gym or like he was in the actual locker room and he was able to like walk around and like see. It was super cool how they're able to do that stuff these days.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool they get to meet your idol, and that's so cool that they have. I didn't even know they had that. That's awesome that they have those like goggles that you could do that.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either, and they were like, "Throw this on." I was like, "What?" It's so cool.
That's awesome. Now, are you an Iona fan because of Rick Pitino?
I actually haven't been following Iona as much as I probably should have. I just been super busy with other things going on. We just bought a house. I bought my own house. Doing a bunch of like renting out to actually my mom and then a couple of my friends. So I've been dealing with a lot of stuff like that. So I haven't been really into college hoops as much as I probably should. So I haven't been following Iona. But I know they're doing actually really well. And I don't know did they win yesterday?
Yeah, they made the tournament.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see that Rick Pitino is back in the NCAA tournament. I'm just waiting for another school to just contact him and just be like, all right, we're going to put you back in the big leagues.
Yeah, I know. I think I'll probably have to cut this, but I was wondering if I was going to hire him or not because there was like a lot of rumors swirling between you or I and Coach Cox when like Hurley had left. And Pitino had like the open, like, and there was like a couple of news articles saying that like you were eyes in talks with like Rick Pitino, but I don't. Obviously, they hired.
That would have been cool.
That would have been bonkers. But yeah. But Coach, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate your time and everything like that. You just can tell that you're super passionate about basketball. and you're super passionate about coaching and you love it very much. And like I said before, Moses Brown and BCRI are both extremely lucky to have you as a coach. And even in the classroom, the kids are very lucky to have you because you just tell you're a passionate person about whatever you're doing. So this has been awesome. Do you have any questions or anything for me before we sign off?
No, man, I appreciate this and all those kind words. Sometimes when we're working hard, we forget um, like how much of a good job we're doing. And so it's good to just hear it a couple of times to get a nice little pat on the back. So no, thank you for that. And one message I do want to share with everybody is like, don't be afraid of Moses Brown. I know it's expensive, but we're doing a very good job of helping kids out financially. Same thing with Wheeler. Go apply to those schools. If you're very serious about getting to college, don't be afraid to apply to some of the private schools. I'm talking to some of the younger kids. Don't be afraid of it. If you really want to, and you get in contact with your coach, with these coaches, we'll try to find a way for them and give them an opportunity. And that's another thing. That's one of my other philosophies is being able to give back to my community. And I think, I think we're almost there with Moses Brown, but to be able to bring kids in from the south side of Providence, where I grew up, into Moses Brown, and then see them flourish not only at Moses Brown, but get to college and flourish there too.
That's awesome. That's great. That would be great and awesome that you guys are, headed in the right direction there too. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Good luck with the AAU season, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again before next season anyway. So I'll talk to you soon, Coach. All right.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yeah.